Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. But before we go ahead and get on into the spoiler-free review, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box for links to all of my social media, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon, where you can be entered into winning book giveaways. The way that I normally structure my reviews is I talk about the world, the plot, the characters, the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like, and then I give the book an overall rating. If you're interested in just skipping to particular sections, I'll go ahead and put timestamps down below.
Kira Navarez dreamed of a life on new worlds. Now she's awakened in a nightmare. During a routine survey mission on an uncolonized planet, Kira finds an alien relic. At first, she's delighted, but elation turns to terror when the ancient dust around her begins to move. As war erupts among the stars, Kira is launched into a galaxy-spanning odyssey of discovery and transformation. First contact isn't at all what she'd imagined, and events push her to the very limits of what it means to be human. While Kira faces her own horrors, Earth and its colonies stand upon the brink of annihilation. Now, Kira might be humanity's greatest and final hope.
In this world, it is about 300 years from where we are today in the future, and humankind has basically colonized different planets, different systems, different galaxies, and Earth still exists, and it is kind of known as the birthplace of civilization in their world as they know it. And Earth is referenced, but our main character has absolutely nothing to do with Earth. She's never been there. And people are still exploring other worlds and other systems, and we follow our main character named Kira, who is a xenobiologist, basically a biologist of things, new organisms on other planets, and she travels around studying these organisms' life on other planets. So when we first are introduced to our main character, she is studying life on another planet, and she gets a call to go investigate something, and she ends up uncovering this alien relic. She ends up meeting alien life. She has first contact. That is the inciting incident, and then the story goes from there. In this world, humans have not really had experience with other life forms. There's something known as the beacon that was found, and it was attributed to being created by alien life. But then upon this discovery by Kira, it is learned that there are two different alien species. One are known as the jellies, and they remind me of like octopus-like beings, and they have all of these tentacles. They seem to communicate mostly by scent. And then we also have another alien race known as the corrupted. Obviously, one is worse than the other. The corrupted are out to destroy everything. The jellies and the humans don't really know where they stand with one another, and they are at war, but they have to come together, work together to defeat the corrupted, who want to destroy basically everything. After Kira has the encounter with the alien life form, something happens to her crew and she ends up having to flee by herself, and she is intercepted and taken in by this ship known as the Wallfish, which is kind of like, I want to say like a pirate ship, but not really. They do trade things, but kind of black market things. And she is kind of integrated into the crew and the captain, whose name is Falcone. And a big part of the story, I would say the majority of the story, takes place on this ship known as the Wallfish with this crew. So we get a lot of time in this setting. Now I'm going to talk about the characters. Our main character was obviously Kira, and I really didn't feel one way or another about Kira. I thought she was a fine protagonist. In my opinion, this book is definitely more plot-driven, so I didn't really feel a huge investment in any of the characters, but Kira definitely, we follow her story, we follow her experience with the alien life form, how that changes her life, how she has to deal with the consequences of that encounter, and how she uses that encounter to help with the war. So Kira has a lot of responsibility, and she really has a lot of time over the course of the book to grow as a character and as a person. And we see that because she realizes that her life has changed, that she has these new responsibilities. So Kira really has to become a self-sacrificing character in order to help save the galaxy. And one thing that I did like about her is that she was definitely very adaptable considering what happened to her in the beginning of the book. And I absolutely loved as she was experimenting with different things. And this is really hard to explain without spoiling anything, but she really had to adapt to her new circumstances and basically learn and teach herself how to become what she needed to be based on her circumstances in order to help everybody else. And then we do have a whole group of side characters. None of them particularly stood out to me, but it was one of those kind of group of friends, found family type trope. So we have a doctor named Vishal, we have a mechanic, we have a teenager named Trig, we have a woman named Sparrow. So we have this entire ship crew, and really the only one that I liked instead of Kira was Falcone, who was the captain of the wall ship, and he and Kira really develop a good friendship and relationship and trust between them that I really enjoyed seeing. And another character we have is Grigorovich, or Greg, and he is what's known as a ship mind. So every single spaceship is operated by this massive brain, and it's literally organic matter. It is a brain without a body, and it is placed in kind of like this holding tank, and that brain runs the ship and is able to assist the crew. And Grigorovich has his own story, and he is a little unhinged, and you don't really know if you can trust him, but I feel like Christopher Paolini created an awesome, unique character just with this ship mind. He was hilarious, he was intelligent, he talked in puns, which I loved, and definitely one of my favorite characters. And I just felt like it fit in perfectly with the sci-fi world that our author created. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I liked. So there's definitely more that I liked about this book than I disliked about this book. So the first thing was the world. So like I said, we're 300 years into the future, and I felt like the world that our author created was very believable and very well done. And you can tell that he did a lot of research in order to help create a world that was believable. And about 50 pages of the book, the last part of the book, is an appendix and an explanation about space travel. And I just love that he took the time to provide that information to the reader and to help create such a realistic experience. Another thing I liked was the pacing, which is kind of funny because one of the main complaints I heard about this book was how slow it was. And this book is a little bit, without the appendix, it's about 825 pages, or at least my version is. And don't get me wrong, it was dense. It took me a while to read each page because of how heavy sci-fi it was. And it took me way longer to get through this book than I would have thought. However, the pacing was absolutely fine. So there were ups and downs consistently throughout the book, and enough to keep me engaged. So you would get to a slow part, but then something would happen that would be all of this action that would kind of break me out of the slow part, go through the action, and then back to the slow part. So really, I found the pacing to be absolutely fine and definitely not a complaint. Like I said, I also really liked the found family trope. There was a lot of just humor and kindness and playfulness amongst the crew. There were a couple of times I laughed out loud, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the wall ship and Kira kind of being an outsider and having an issue that the crew doesn't want to deal with, and the fact that they brought her in and cared for her and she developed these friendships with them was a lot of fun to read about. And then, like I said, Kira was an incredibly adaptable character, and she kind of had a symbiotic relationship going on. And I found that whole part of the plot absolutely fascinating. The plot basically revolves around this relationship that Kira has with this alien species. And I thought that our author did an awesome job with it. Just the way that they were able to work together, the way that she was able to utilize it, learn about it, grow from it, just to become a person that kind of transcends where other humans were currently at that time. I just thought it was awesome. It was a very cool part of the sci-fi story, and I felt like it was written very well. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I disliked, and there weren't too many things, and I'm kind of nitpicking here, I think, but one of the things I didn't really like so much was the setting. So like I said, this was a space setting, but the majority of the book took place on the spaceship, the wall ship, and I just thought it would have been very cool for the setting to change to for them to go to different planets and things like that, and that didn't happen. So the whole time they were, other than a couple small scenes, they were basically on the ship the entire time. So I remember I was reading and then I like flipped to a different part of the book for some reason and I just read a little bit and I was like, they're still on the ship. So I thought that they were going to, go to different worlds and things like that, and that didn't happen. The space travel was cool. I just would have liked to see some cool alien worlds. And then another small complaint of mine is the ending of the book. Actually, not so much the ending, but like the final battle scene with our main antagonist. And we have Kira, who discovered this alien relic, and she basically takes on this antagonist on her own. And once again, in my mind, I think of like, I don't know, the Superman effect, where Superman can just take anything on and he's indestructible. And that's kind of the way I felt about Kira. And it was just a little bit, I don't know if cheesy is the right word, but just kind of like I rolled my eyes a little bit. I just imagine in my head where Kira is just taking on this massive alien, and it just, something didn't work for me. I found it a bit hard to digest. Throughout the book, we are told that Kira is not immortal, that the alien relic that she uncovered was not immortal, it could be destroyed. But then there were parts in the book where it almost seemed like whatever Kira wanted to do, she was able to do, even though our author kept telling us there were parameters. It was just a little bit too convenient that she was able to think and do anything to defeat the bad guy.
Hey guys, editing me here. I wanted to put in a really quick clip because I was editing the part where I'm discussing the ending of the book, and I realized that even though this is a spoiler-free review and I don't exactly tell you how the book ended, I basically divulge what didn't happen, which could be considered very spoilery. So I just wanted to put in a quick disclaimer that I do, I guess, mention minor spoilers to the ending in my discussion of my feelings of the ending, so watch at your own risk, even though I don't necessarily tell you how the book ends. So I would just have felt more comfortable if I told you guys before you watch the whole thing.
And lastly, I just want to touch on the ending. The ending for me was not a dislike. I actually liked the ending, but I know that it's definitely hit or miss for a lot of people. So the ending was surprising for me. That's not how I thought it was going to end, but it actually fit. And based on everything that the author gave us, all of the information the author gave us, I felt like it made sense. The only thing that I didn't like about it was it almost seemed like Kira transcended humanity and became almost like a god. And there were a couple of sentences in the book that are, I'm just going to say they're plagiarized from the book of Genesis in the Bible, because there were two sentences that I read and I was like, he literally just looked that up in the Bible and took them out of the Bible, because it kind of threw me off, because I was trying to think, okay, well, what is our author trying to communicate? That she is now God or a godlike being? And it just was a little bit confusing. So if you take away like a godlike being, then I did like the ending, because I thought like that could have happened to her. And, like I said, it fit. I just wasn't really sure of the message that the author was trying to send. All right, you guys, so that is my spoiler-free review for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. All in all, I really liked this book, despite the fact it took me forever to get through it. It kept me engaged. I like the characters. I love the world. The plot was interesting. And if he writes anything more in this universe, I will definitely be picking it up. And I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Let me know in the comments if you have read this book and what you thought of it, and I will see y'all soon in another video. Goodbye!